the meeting. Bill is out of town. So I'll go ahead and take us through that. We may just give people a minute or so here to make sure we got everybody on. Let me see. It looks like we're doing pretty well. I'll go ahead and kick it off and call the meeting of the Williamson County Joint Communications Network Authority Board to order for our December 4th meeting. First order of business here is to declare that this is a meeting being held pursuant to Executive Order 16 of the Governor of the State of Tennessee. We're using electronic means for this meeting. And as such, all members of the board must be able to hear me and hear each other. And as we take roll, that will also be an acknowledgement that you're on, you're connected, you can hear the proceedings. So I'm going to go through the roll here and say the name. And if you can give me a verbal acknowledgement, so that way we confirm you're hearing us okay and we can hear you, that would be great. So I'll go down the roll. I'll do it by community of the city of Brentwood representatives first. Kirk, are you on the line?
I am here on my phone.
Okay, I see you. Okay, great. Welcome. All right, Chief Hughes. Don't see Chief Hughes. Chief Goss.
Yes, sir.
All right, great. For the city of Franklin, I'm present. Chief Johnson, I see you on the line.
Present.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Chief Faulkner, are you on the line? Do not see Chief Faulkner. Okay. With Williamson County, Chief Rhodes or Chief Elrod, who do we have representing? Anybody there? Okay.
Eric, the sheriff is here, and I'm here as well with the operations committee.
Okay, great. Very good. Thank you. And then we've got Bill's not present and Mayor Anderson's not present. So those are our members present. Any other voting members I'm missing? All right. So let us know if you're unable to hear. All of our votes will be done by roll call vote as necessary, and the meeting will be available to the public on public access television and is streaming live on YouTube, is what it says here. I didn't realize we're doing that. So anyway, that's what Bill told me. So that's our call to order. Our first item is the minutes from the October 23rd meeting. Any questions or comments on the minutes?
Eric, this is Kirk. I'll make a motion to approve.
All right. We have a motion and we have a
second.
And Goss seconded. So Kirk motion and Chief Goss with the second. Any other discussion on the minutes? It looks like Chief Hughes has joined us as well. Chief, can you hear us okay?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Great. So we'll add you to our list. All right, let's go ahead and take a roll call vote on the acceptance of the October 23rd minutes. All right, first vote, just I'll read your name and give us your vote. Kirk?
Aye.
Chief Hughes? Chief Hughes?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Chief Goss?
Aye.
Then I'll go down to City of Franklin. The chair votes yes. Aye. Chief Johnson?
Aye.
I still don't think we have Chief Faulkner, but Chief Faulkner, not on the call. The Williamson County, Chief Rhodes?
This Chief Deputy Mark Elrod, he's, I'm not sure if his phone's working correct or not, but he vote aye. Sheriff.
Either one of you works, so that's great. Thanks. All right, and then Mr. Jorgensen and Mayor Anderson are not present as well. So that passes unanimously. We're on to the rest of our agenda. We've got our various reports. The first is our treasurer's report, and that'll be Kirk and Amy, I think, will take us through financial updates. So Kirk, Amy, who wants to kick it off?
I'll kick it off. I am in my car, unfortunately, so I don't have the materials in front of me, but I can go from memory. Amy can fill in the blanks or correct me. And I think it was all emailed to you yesterday or the day before. Amy sent out the monthly financial report along with bank statements and all kinds of information. And as we've discussed, there's not a lot of activity in our financial world. The banks or the financial report she sent you was through the end of October, which reflected basically revenue, a little bit of interest revenue, and then payments, quarterly payments from Nolensville and Fairview through the end of October. I can report that Spring Hill has made their first quarter payment. That came in November, so that wasn't reflected there. So we have all the first quarter payments in from the other jurisdictions. So that's tracking with the revenue budget. Like I say, expense-wise, really nothing. We still are working through how we're going to pay for QuickBooks because we can't share it with ECD. Amy is working her way through that. We had already reimbursed Bill for part of that when he paid for half. And it was going to be split. So ECD actually owes the radio authority back a little bit of money, and then we'll have to buy our own set of QuickBooks. But that's really, Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the only expense item that we've kind of got hanging out there. The audit, of course, is ongoing, so that will be an expense when we've made I think a partial. She also included in her email to you the auditor's communication, required communication to the board members, just kind of standard. I think we've all seen that in our other worlds. So they're finishing that up, and we are finishing up the required fidelity bonds, for lack of a better term, for myself and Bill and a few others in the authority. We're working through some legality language in that, and I think that's in the hands of the bonding agency to review that language before we finalize those bonds. But I think that's it from a financial standpoint. Again, not a lot of activity by the authority itself. And Amy, if there's anything more we want to add, please do.
No, sir, I think you've covered it all. Thank you.
Very good.
So
Thank you. Great. Thank you, Kirk. Any questions, comments from the board on the financial report and treasurer's report? Do we need to take any action accepting this, or is it just a report to the board?
I think in the past we actually have voted to accept it, so probably wouldn't hurt just to be safe.
Okay. Yeah, let's go ahead. I'll entertain a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Johnson moved to approve.
So Chief Johnson move. Need a second?
If you second.
Road second.
All right. Thank you, Sheriff. All right. Any other discussion? I'll go ahead and call the roll. Kirk Bednar,
Aye.
Chief Hughes,
Aye.
Chief Goss.
Aye.
All right. Chair votes aye. Chief Johnson,
Aye.
Sheriff Rhodes,
Aye.
and then I believe we still have not present Chief Faulkner, Bill Jorgensen, and Mayor Anderson. If any of you are on the line, I don't think anybody else is on the line. So that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Let's move to our standing work groups, reports, updates. Let's go with the technical working group first. Not sure who wants to take the lead. I know we got Paul on the line. If you want to add something, also, Bill gave me a little bit of information, a little bit of an update on Sneed, but I know this group is getting ready to meet as well. So, Paul, do you have anything you want to share with us?
No, I think everything's going smoothly with the system. The latest reports have been very positive. System, my last two-month reporting period showed absolutely zero system busies. So the system utilization is doing what it's supposed to. Your first responders out in the field are talking when they need to talk, and that's the key focus, is that the deputies and officers and the firefighters, et cetera, are able to use the system when they need it. So a lot of work going on, a lot of touch-ups, a lot of fine-tuning work. I think later in the agenda, I'm going to talk a little bit about the exercise plan, but that's right now everything looks good.
All right, very good. Anybody else have something to add in terms of the technical support group, working group topics? Bill did share with me in an email yesterday, just in terms of the Sneed site update, that Crown Castle will be doing a utility survey and that this should be complete soon. Another step in the process of getting that site up and going. Anybody have anything else? All right. Operational group. Anybody want to add there? Mark, do you have anything you want to?
I do.
Sure.
Operations committee met yesterday via WebEx. Actually had a couple of meetings. We got timed out on one. Trying to get that group back together with COVID is kind of, of course, messed a whole lot of things up. So we're moving forward, and we'll have a more detailed report next time the board's together.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Anybody have anything else on these two work group areas to share? All right, I'll move on to the new business item, which is a Franklin Special School District item, Selby Glass, regarding radio access for FSSD. Mark, I have your name on this one too. Do you have anything for us on that?
I have reached out, got approvals for most. I'm waiting on signatures to come back. So hopefully I'll have that by the end of next week, all those approvals that are necessary so Shelby can move forward.
So that will bring them on as system users?
That will bring them on as part of the interoperability.
Okay.
Per all of the Franklin Special School District talk groups, the Williamson County Schools talk groups, Sheriff's Office SRO talk group, and then working with Franklin Fire and Franklin PD on the request for them.
All right, very good. So do we think we'll see that at our next meeting, you think?
It should be, everything should be signed off by then, yes, sir.
All right, we'll be looking for that. Great. Thank you, Mark. Then I have just other business. What other things do we need to cover? I think, Paul, you referenced something. Do you want to touch on that now?
Yes, I talked to Bill Jorgensen yesterday, and he asked if I would update the board on the work for the exercise plan for 2021. There's been a number of calls between the Nashville team led by Jody and the Williamson County team with Bill, and we've worked up what we think is a pretty good plan. The idea is that we're going to be doing what we refer to as failure testing every quarter. And the first and third quarter, we're going to be doing the Dsr failure testing. And we're going to be doing this we're going to run it. We're going to basically switch the entire system over to the Dsr core for 2 hours. We're going to do it probably from about 0200 to about 0400 in the morning to minimize any impacts. And so we'll do that, and we'll still have people on site. Steve Palmer will be on site for Williamson County and Jim Tyler on site for Nashville. The impact for Williamson County and your users is going to be pretty transparent. There'll probably be about a 7-second degradation when you move into site trunking for about 7 seconds. While we do that, it's again, that's that's just a switch. It just has to happen, but it's obviously a very minor impact. You're not going to see the impact. Jody's going to have more impacts with some of his other entities that are not, quote, DSR protected, his system B, and some of the other entities that are not DSR protected, Vanderbilt, Lifelight, they'll be in site trunking for 2 hours, not just 7 seconds. But that's we're working with them to get them to a position where they can be protected, so they won't have any impacts on them there. Additionally, in the second and fourth quarters, we're going to be doing the Geoprime site testing. So we're going to fail over from your prime site to your redundant prime. All the systems on the Metro system that have a Geoprime, which is Nashville's P25 and Williamson County's P25, there'll be a move over to, again, it's a very similar process, 2 in the morning to 4 in the morning, a 2-hour period, where we'll be on geo-redundant primes. Again, for Williamson County and for Nashville's P25, that's basically a blip It's about a 7-second time where you're in site trunking, and then it'll be transparent to the users. They won't realize there's anything going on. The the systems that do not have a geo-redundant prime will be impacted. They'll be in site trunking for that entire period, and there'll be they'll be in Failsafe for that time, and they've got other issues. But that is not Williamson County. That's going to be like Mount Juliet, and the system B will have bigger challenges, but we're working with them so they understand that. And then the third component is we've looked at in the third quarter doing a Failsafe test. And the real idea of the Failsafe test is really to validate your Failsafe programming assignments. For Williamson County to get to a Failsafe takes multiple levels of failure over multiple sites. So it is a pretty, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but you've taken every step you can to protect against that. But we still think it's valid to go through once a year and do a validation to make sure all the Failsafe channel assignments are correct. And so we'll be scheduling that in the third quarter. But right now, we've worked through this. We've talked to other entities throughout the United States that do testing. Surprisingly, most don't, even though they all agree they should. So I've got about 7 entities throughout the United States that are waiting for our plan because they want to take our plan and use it as best practices. So I kind of like being on the lead of that. We're kind of setting the standard, but I think it's a good plan. Bill and Jody have we've had a couple WebEx meetings, and I think we've got it agreed that we're going, and that's going to accomplish what we need to accomplish.
Great. Thank you, Paul. Any questions for Paul about the exercises and what we're looking at? That sounds pretty extensive for the coming year. That's great.
Yeah, and Eric, you will get a written memo for this for your next meeting. It'll outline all this in writing. So
okay, great.
In writing.
Eric, this is Kirk.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Paul, just a real quick question, Paul, and I know it's not going to apply to us and what you said, but I'm just curious, since I'm not a technical person, when you say that some of those users will go to site trunking during that 2-hour period, what does that really mean for them in terms of communications?
They'll still, and I'll use Mount Juliet as an example. Their radios, I suspect their radios have been programmed that when they do that, they're going to what we refer to as boink every 15 seconds. So it'll be annoying as hell for them for a period of time. But they'll still have, under site trunking, they'll still have access to all their voice traffic. Is still going to be functioning just like normal. What they lose when you're in site trunking is you lose some of the administrative capabilities. You lose consoles. So your console operators, their dispatchers are going to have to work off portables or mobiles. They're not going to be able to use their consoles. That's probably the biggest impact. So that also impacts, like I said, Mount Juliet, the dispatch centers that are not DSR protected, Vanderbilt, Mount Juliet, et cetera. NES is one of them. So it is a lot more problematic for them because of losing the consoles, but that's normally the biggest issue. Failsafe is a bigger impact, and that basically you lose the simulcast capability that is so important to, especially in a large area network such as Williamson County. But because you've got the DSR and the geo-redundant prime, that will not impact you.
Okay, thanks. I was just kind of curious since I don't understand how all that works.
Yeah, I don't either. So that's it's sometimes it's just magic. I mean, that's a lot of us have been doing this for years, and it's still kind of magic at times.
All right, thank you, Kirk. Good questions. What else do folks have on this? Any other questions on this topic? All right, I'll open it up to see if there's any other business that we need to cover for the group.
Eric, this is Chief Hughes. We had talked about new members, new proxies with all the changes we've had on the committee.
Yes, yeah.
That today.
I don't know. Do we have folks identified? And do we want to consider now or put them on the table now, and then we'll bring them for a vote at the next meeting? What's the preference of the group?
Brentwood only has one change, so we're prepared to give you that name.
Okay.
No, Franklin, you have many as well.
We have at least two that we're going to be dealing with. Yeah, go ahead. Let's go ahead and get those out, and then let's talk about if we want to go ahead and take action if we're comfortable. What are Brentwood's additional names?
Assistant Chief Richard Hickey will replace Tommy Walsh as the proxy for me in Brentwood.
All right. And then let me check. We will have one for police. We just made some appointments yesterday to our 2 deputy chief positions with Greg Policastro's retirement and Chris Gentry's about a year ago. We have filled both of those positions. So I'll need Chief Faulkner to weigh in on who might be taking that proxy seat. Chief Johnson, do we have a proxy identified for your position officially or not? I think we lost Chief Johnson. We'll need to follow up on that. I just want to make sure on that one. So let's go ahead and if the group is comfortable, let's go ahead and vote
Eric?
on, well, I need a motion and a vote, I guess, on the appointment as a alternate seat, I guess it is, for the police chief position in Brentwood for Deputy Chief Richard Hickey to be in that position.
This Sheriff Rhodes, I so move on Richard Hickey.
All right, motion from Sheriff Rhodes. Need a second?
Goss will
This
second.
is Kirk. I'll second.
Okay, the Brentwood guys are fighting over it. I heard Goss first, so sorry, Kurt.
I figured Goss wouldn't say a word about police, so I didn't think
He's just trying to exert some power over police. All right. Any other comments or discussion on this? All right, let's go ahead and vote on this appointment as alternate as Richard Hickey for one of the Brentwood representatives. I'll go right down the road here. Kirk Bednar.
Aye.
Chief Hughes.
Aye.
Chief Goss.
I guess.
Took some lobbying there. Chair votes yes. Chief Johnson, I think, dropped off. I think we lost him. Chief Rhodes.
Sheriff Rhodes, yes.
Sheriff. Sorry about that. All right, those are all the members present. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Excuse me, Eric.
Yes.
I tried to get this on with Jeff's, but I don't think you heard me. I have a change as my secondary as well.
Okay, go ahead.
We just promoted a new deputy chief, and I'm going to go ahead and have him as my secondary. He's intimately familiar with our radio system, and so he'll be replacing Russ Peterson for me. His name is Brian Collins.
Great. Excellent. All right, so let's go ahead and get a motion and a second on that as well for the alternate for the fire chief position for Brentwood representation.
Sheriff Rhodes, so move.
Motion from Sheriff Rhodes. Need a second.
Chief Hughes, second.
All right, I figured that would work that way. Any other discussion of the appointment of Brian Collins as an alternate? All right, let's go ahead and vote. I'll just run down the line here. Kirk?
Aye.
Chief Hughes?
Aye.
Chief Goss?
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Chief Faulkner's not present. Andy, are you sitting in for Chief Johnson or not? I'm not sure what's going on here.
Sorry, I lost audio as well. I think Lynn's still signed in, but I don't think his audio is working.
Okay. All right.
I'm glad to vote yes as an alternate. I don't think I've been replaced yet.
All right, good. I'm sorry. I didn't see you there originally. Sorry about that, Andy. All right, so we'll accept that as the alternate there, the vote there. And then Chief Rhodes, Sheriff Rhodes, sorry.
That's no problem. Aye.
All right. That motion passes unanimously. Do we have any other appointments or items to talk about? Any other business? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Our next meeting is scheduled for January 22nd, I believe, at 9 a.m. And at least right now it says Public Safety Center. So we'll see, either there or electronically again.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll make them.
We have a motion to adjourn in a second. Without objection, I will go ahead and declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.